course, just praising the vaccine out of Cuba, Abdal, and here to speak with us about it is Cuban Ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Her Excellency Tanya Diego Olite. Good morning to you, Ambassador.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining us. So let's just talk about how excited Cubans were to get this vaccine.
Yes, Cuban people is very excited and proud of this development of the Cuban vaccines. So we want to, I am very pleased to share with you all the information or this feeling we have and this proud we have from having these two vaccines against COVID-19.
Right, so how many Cubans have been vaccinated with Abdala thus far?
Yes, till June 25, 2.5 million persons have been vaccinated already. It means it's different grades of doses. I mean, more than 5.5 million doses approximately have been
Ambassador?
2.5 million persons. Almost 2 million have at least 2 doses of it.
Your Excellency, we are having some connectivity issues. For a while there, I was unable to hear what you were saying. Let's hope going forward it will be better. If not, we will take a break and come back to you, right? So were there any concerns, though, that there hasn't been emergency use approval for the Abdala vaccine, by Cubans, to take it? Any hesitancy to take the vaccine in light of the fact that it hasn't been approved?
Well, the vaccine has a process in Cuba to be approved to the national authority that regulates the medicines, equipment, and medical devices. So these two vaccines, because there are two of them, Abdala and Soberana, both of them has already concluded phase 3 of clinical essays. So they are presenting in these days the profile, the complete profile to the Cuban National Authority regulatory in this field in order to receive the emergency use approval.
And has there been any adverse reactions? Just a feedback from Cubans who've taken the vaccine. Any adverse reactions to any of the two vaccines, Abdala and Sabanero?
No, it haven't been reported grave secondary reactions to the vaccines. Just normal things in the zone where you put the injections, something like that, but not adverse reactions have been reported because they are also developed on platforms that we had, because we had an experience producing vaccines 30 years doing that, and so these vaccines use that platforms that we already have proved have been utilized in the vaccine.
Right, and I know that the Abdala vaccine or even the Sabanera haven't gotten WHO approval. Does the Cuban authority, do you know if the Cuban authority has any plans to apply for WHO approval?
Sure, after the process of the use of emergency and the approval from the national authority to do this use of emergency in the vaccines in Cuba, the entities responsible for that will apply for the WHO approval. Anyhow, in this process, there has been a constant and fluent communication and interchange of information between the Cuban authorities, the Cuban institutes, and PAHO and WHO.
Right, and I asked because I know that for almost 60 years, Cuba has had this lockout, this sanction by America, and a lot of these, big entities and organizations are influenced by America. So do you think it will be granted the approvals, considering that it has an efficacy of 92%, 92.28%?
Yes, we don't see it will be a problem on that, because as I said before, we also have other vaccines that have been developed by Cuba, like meningococcus, hepatitis B, and has been received the approval. It's a fact that Cuba has done this with, despite the enormous difficulties that the blockade of the United States against Cuba has been putting and has been recruiting those that blockade against us. So it's a reality that has been a big effort, and
Yeah.
despite of that, we have been overcoming. And we hope we think that won't be a problem. Anyhow, the national authorities are the one who has the last word on it, in order to use it in one country and another, and even and of course in our country.
And you know what, Ambassador? All the more reason to celebrate is that without America, being included or being a part of the process, is that regardless of the sanctions, Cuba was still able to put out a vaccine that has a really high efficacy rate, can stand up to Pfizer BioNTech, can stand up to any of the other vaccines. As a matter of fact, a lot of them don't have such a high efficacy. So it's very interesting that Cuba is able to do this, and I think it's all the more to applaud Cuba for getting there.
Thank you. I think we share that proud, and it's a reality that Cuban people is very eager and enthusiastic and proud of this result. That is precisely a result. I'm sorry for using the word twice, of that previous work we have been developing, and this prioritization we have done always to the human, to the Cuban, and to the people, to the health of people, where health is being granted right for everyone and not a commodity. So
Right.
the same spirit we have been is being guiding us in order to develop the vaccines against COVID-19.
Right. And I know that some countries have indicated their interest, in the Abdala vaccine, but have there been any purchases thus far from any
Yes.
of the Latin American countries, African countries?
Yes, there was a signed agreement between Cuba and Venezuela, and it's been 12 million doses of vaccines are going to be sent into Venezuela in the next few months.
Right. And what other countries have indicated an interest in the Abdala vaccine?
Well, I don't have the information of that details on how many countries have indicated that, but there are several countries, not only with Abdala, but also with Soberana, that has been having conversation with Cuba in order to purchase the vaccines, to produce it, to some arrangement with Cuba about that two vaccines.
How many doses of the Abdala vaccine does one have to take to get that efficacy rate of 92.28%?
Yes, Abdala needs 3 doses every 14 days. So with the third dosage, you get this high level of efficacy of 92.28%. So
And what's the significance behind the name Abdala?
Yes, Abdala is a poem. It's a poem of our national hero Jose Marti, and the dates where they were going to register the vaccines, it was an anniversary of the publishing of this important poem, and it's very familiar and very symbolic to Cuba, to overcome challenge, to love the homeland. So it's the out of that poem that we took the name, poem of Jose Marti.
Right. And, I am expecting that, Cuba being so close to CARICOM, do you know if they're in talks about, vaccines between CARICOM and Cuba?
Well, we have been interchanging information with CARFA about the Cuban vaccines, and we know several countries has been also having conversation with Cuba about Abdala. So yes, there are going on conversations on that field, sure.
Right. And how is the Abdala vaccine any different from the other vaccines on the market? What is the base of the vaccine?
Well, technically there are several differences that I wouldn't like to go into in this conversation. So because I'm not an expert on that, But I can assure that the only difference is to be produced in a small island of the Caribbean, and small island of the Caribbean with a high spirit of solidarity, high spirit of overcome difficulties, and we just want to develop these vaccines in order to get our people and in general the population overcome this dangerous virus for everyone.
Right. And what is the shelf life of the Abdala vaccine? How long before it can be in use before it expires?
I don't have that information, but you mean the vial, or in general, because if you have to have another shot in a few periods, because I understand that there have been carried out studies still, not only the efficacy but also several items that are also studied in the results of the vaccine. That includes also if it should have to be activated or not. So those processes are going on, are still going on. The most important figure that everyone has celebrated and knows is the efficacy of the 90%, but there are some other studies and results going on regarding this.
Right. And you know, as I said, this is really a good opportunity for CARICOM countries, Latin American countries that have been struggling with getting vaccines. So, but if the demand comes in from CARICOM, from Latin America, from Africa, will Cuba be able to supply the amount of vaccines that are needed?
Well, Cuba has been always has a will and has been always a compromise and a commitment with a third developed country, with the whole world. So we stand on that commitment and that position. Example of that is that we have had 57 brigades, Cuban medical brigades, that has been in more than 40 countries in order to fight COVID-19. That is in addition to 28,000 personnel of health that is in more than 66 countries, helping and trying to support the efforts to not only COVID, but in general terms to improve the health in several countries. So we remain, we are still in that position. Anyhow, as I explained before, there are certain limitations in terms of this blockade, these obstacles that has been put towards our country. And in the same possibility, the same way the possibilities allows that, we would like to expand the supply to the countries and also to the Caribbean countries in the same way the possibilities and our resource allows it.
Right. Well, I mean, you are right. You know, we have relied heavily on Cubans, on the Cubans medicine, and you know, just their expertise in the field. And we always see Cuban nurses and doctors all over the world, you know, just doing so well and always being called on to help in the medical field. So, you know, I look forward to that time when, you know, even those places where Cuban nurses and doctors are will, you know, get into their vaccine. But I think, like, even for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, the policy is that it will not use any vaccine unless it is WHO approved. So my question is, has Cuba applied for WHO approval as yet?
As far as I know, the National Regulatory Authority must have the approval to the use of emergency in the country. That is a process in which we are now. Soberana and also Abdala will have delivered the complete profile to the National Regulatory Authority in order to approve that use of emergency. After that, it's a process. After that, the enterprises are the ones who applies to the WHO for the other step of the recommendation, certification, and all that. But the first step now is to have the approval of the national authority, and it doesn't mean some other countries, if their national authorities approve the use of that vaccines, they can also use it.
Right. Ambassador, forgive me, I don't know how long you've been here. Have you been vaccinated by the Abdala vaccine?
No, unfortunately, it's not haven't been possible
Okay, no problem.
yet.
All right, Ambassador. Well, yet, not as yet. I appreciate that. Ambassador, I want to thank you so much for being with us here this morning. And, congratulations to Cuba on developing the first vaccine within Latin America and the Caribbean, to be developed, and over 2 million Cuban vaccine thus far. And it seems as if it's living up to its hype, to what people are saying about it. So we look forward to it being able to expand and to help CARICOM countries, as well as Latin American, Asian, and African countries. So thank you so much.
Well, we thanks for this opportunity and to share this information. And in fact, the important thing is to open borders, to save life, to be ready in order to overcome this situation all over the world. And that's important to have cooperation, solidarity, interchange of everyone in order to fulfill this goal in all over the world.
Yes. Her Excellency Tania Diego Olita, they're speaking with us about the Cuban vaccine, really two of them, but I focused more on the Abdala, which has an efficacy rate of 92.28%, and over 2 million Cubans vaccinated with it thus far, and they continue their vaccination drive. We say congratulations to Cuba. All right, so we take a break and we'll be back with you.
Thank you.